I want to talk about the water filter systems in Cuba, in the contaminated water, in how God works in so mysterious ways. This was on that 2013 trip where we went to El Ramon, and we stayed at Takaho. And this was Wayne and Tommy and Neil and Art. And Leonard was there, and Lily, and that's their hometown, Takaho. And that was when Pastor Ernesto had a conference there. And Wayne nicknamed Ernesto Tornado, because in his sermons and in his preaching, he was waving his arm, he was going back and forth. And Wayne named him Tornado, and that name stuck with him for years after that. And it was all just because of the way that he preached. And as we're sitting there in between church services, in the backyard, I mean, it was Lily and Ernesto and Annie, and I think the other guys were there too. And in pulls a tanker, a tractor with a tank, and is putting water into a cistern. And we asked the question, why, what's the deal on that? What's the deal on water in the system? Well, Ernesto and Lily said, well, you can't really use the water here because it's contaminated. That's the first I ever heard it. I mean, I've been going there for a few years. The first I ever heard, what do you mean contaminated? Oh, the water is bad. So they go into the kitchen and they get directly from a faucet, water that comes directly from the faucet. And it is bad. It is bad. And Ernesto tells you that we can't use the water we can't use it for drinking on it, but that's the only water that we have. That's the first I ever heard of it. And then we talk some more about the situation, and he had a cistern there. And we come back to the United States, and we started working on trying to get a clean water into Takaho and into Cuba. We increased the size of the cistern and got money down to here so Ernesto could do that, but still we had a big cistern with contaminated water. But we started looking into water systems. How can we get a water system that'll help clean the water? How do we get one that's affordable? How do we get it into the country? How do we... the tasks were astronomical. In every direction that we went, we run into a roadblock. Cost, getting it there, everything was impossible. And I was told that even if you did get a system, take it down there, the government would confiscate and take it away from you. Well, after about 2 or 3 years, it was two and a half years of investigating, I read an article about a company in Fort Myers that had a visit from Pastor Panera, and they thought that they could put together a system that would take care of Cuba water. I went down there and I spoke with Ken Visser, the representative there. And I told him the problem, made arrangements for him to go down to Cuba and take a look for himself. and just see if we could get a system that could help things out. The first system that Ken came up with was too high priced. We couldn't afford it for individual churches. So I told him to go back to the drawing board, make a smaller system, more condensed, and see if we can get one that is more affordable. And Ken is a great guy to work with. In Water One, I highly recommend. And he come back with another system that was much more affordable and much more portable. He went down again, and we looked at, because every location is different. Every situation is different. So it had to be a system that would work in all locations, not just one. We had well water, we had cistern water, we had water from the street. We had water from the street, but it only was there 1 or 2 days a week. They had to be pumped into a cistern and then taken care of. The system that Ken designed was a great system. We met with Ken again, and I started to promote the system. We sold 26 systems, and that was in 2016. I worked with Agape Flights to get the systems down there. They hadn't taken anything into Cuba before, but Alan Spears and Agape Flights got approval to take down the water systems. So on August 23rd, 2016, Agape Flights flew out of Venice, Florida to Havana with 26 water systems aboard to bring clean water to Cuba. I had left, Ken and I had left a day or two early, so we were in Havana when the flight landed. But at Havana Airport, nobody knew anything about it. And that's typical. Nobody knew anything about it, or they didn't want to tell us anything about it. The bishop was with us to pray for him, but as he said, he says, I don't know anything about this airport. I don't know anything about water systems. I know how to pray. And we couldn't find where the water systems were unloaded at, so the bishop had to leave. But walking through the airport, we met Alan Spears, and the systems had been unloaded, and they were in Cuba. We didn't know at that time that they would be held in a warehouse for a time until approved to be released, and then they'd be sent to their destination. 26 water systems. We spent the next day going around, making sure where the systems were at, making sure they were safe. We met with Tapico, the president of the Council of Churches, and he explained to us the situation and guaranteed that the water systems would be safe and would be delivered. So we went home that day in August with 26 systems there, praying that they would be delivered. Well, in about a month, the systems were released, and most all of these went to Hogi Norte, and they have been working in Hogi Norte since that time. This is 2020. We just delivered 10 more systems, and now we have 69 systems in Cuba running at this present time. It has brought clean water to locations in Cuba that's never had clean water before. The systems that are housed at churches, but the water is not only for the church or for the pastor, it's for everybody in the community. Christians, non-Christians, to come to the church, to get clean, pure water, but to also hear the living word of Jesus Christ. It has been a huge success story. I could have never done it without God. It took like I said, 3 years plus to get the systems there and many hurdles to jump through. And I've had so many thank yous from mothers and fathers that now have boys and girls that don't have parasites, sons and daughters that don't have parasites because they have clean water. It has been a blessing in many churches, has grown because of this. Thank you, God, for answering the many unsurmountable, I don't know if that's even a word, the huge problems that we had to jump, the hurdles that we had to jump to get this project underway. What a wonderful thing and what a wonderful project. And I thank you so much. Water systems in Cuba. God bless.